Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. We're really thrilled that we can have you here in person, and for those joining on Zoom, thank you so much for joining us for this evening's Jane Fortune lecture. My name is Greg Hall. I'm the Dean of the Heron School of Art and Design, and really thrilled to be able to welcome you here for this event. Very honored to have our guest speaker, Ghada Amer, amazing artist, and just so fortunate to have her here with us. But thank you again for joining us, whether you're in the room or on Zoom. This is a very special occasion, and this lecture series is something we look forward to every year. So happy to have this back as an in-person and virtual get-together. So thank you again for coming, and I hope you enjoy. There is a reception afterwards. I'd like to introduce our gallery director, Joseph Mella, who's going to tell us more about the evening and about our artists. But thank you so much for joining us.
That's better. Hi, good evening. My name is Joseph Mella, as you already know, and I'm the director and curator of the galleries at Heron School of Art and Design. Welcome to what I know will be an incredible evening where the artist Ghada Amer will soon deliver the 2021-22 Jane Fortune Outstanding Women Artists Lecture. Before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to recognize the legacy of Jane Fortune and her impact on the Heron School of Art and Design and its many students. Jane Fortune was a true champion of the arts and will be remembered and recognized as an author, cultural editor, art historian, art collector, and philanthropist. Her commitment to supporting women, artists, and cultural organizations is evident locally, nationally, and internationally. The Jane Fortune Outstanding Women Visiting Artist Lectures, made possible by Jane's generosity, brings internationally acclaimed female artists to Indianapolis. Past artists include Maria Magdalena Campos Pons, Deborah Butterfield, Judy Chicago, Faith Ringgold, Carrie Mae Weems, Ann Hamilton, and most recently, Paula Scher in the fall of 2019. As an aside, I want to remind everyone this evening in the audience of our current exhibitions on view here at the Heron Galleries in Eskenazi Hall, namely Tugadur Yondanjam's Separated Geography from a Poem in the Berkshire, Reese, and Paul Galleries, and Black and Blue on the Road with Jack White in the Marsh Galleries, and Imagine Me Beyond What You See in the Basile Gallery. I also want to make sure that you're aware of a project that Heron has partnered with IUPUI School of Education and Lasana Kazembe, who teaches there, titled Introduction to Black Humanity 101, Imagining Blackness Then and Now. The pop-up exhibition opened this week and will continue through Thursday, November 11th at the Eskenazi Fine Arts Center on Indiana Avenue. I hope you can stop by the galleries and experience all of the 4 exhibitions. The exhibitions, by the way, here in Eskenazi Hall can be viewed remotely via virtual tours found on our webpage. These VRs were produced in partnership with the University Information Technology Services Research Technologies IU 3D initiative at Indiana University and made possible by an anonymous donor. Free parking this academic year for all our exhibitions and speakers programs have been generously provided by the Great Frame Up and its 4 locations in and around Indianapolis. And I want to mention this evening on the food table, the bar table, and all the galleries, there's little slips of paper. So if you parked in the garage, when you exit, don't put your card back in, just punch in the code on that and the gate will go up and off you go, thanks to Great Frame Up. I also want to thank Sun King Brewery for supplying craft beer for our receptions this year, including this evening's reception following Ghada's talk. Thank you. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce this evening's speaker, Ghada Amer. Ghada was born in Cairo, Egypt in 1963 and moved to Nice, France, when she was 11 years old. She remained in France to further her education and completed both her undergraduate requirements and MFA at the Villa Arson École Nationale Supérieure in Nice in 1989, during which she also studied abroad at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. In 1991, she moved to Paris to complete a post-diploma at the Institut des Hautes Études en Arts Plastiques. Following early recognition in France, she was invited to the United States in 1996 for a residency at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. She's since then been based in New York City. Ghada Amer's work addresses first and foremost the ambiguous transitory nature of the paradox that arises when searching for concrete definitions of East and West, feminine and masculine, art and craft. Recognizing both that women are taught to model behavior traits shaped by others, and that art history and the history of painting are often shaped largely by expressions of masculinity, Amer's work actively subverts these frameworks through both aesthetics and content. Her practice often explores the complicated nature of identity as it is developed through cultural and religious norms, as well as personal longings and understanding of the self. Ghada's work reveals the possibilities of art that is not afraid of confronting critical social issues in such a way that is still accessible and more so incredibly engaging. Amer's work is in public collections around the world, including the Arab Museum of Modern Art in Doha, the Art Institute of Chicago, the Barjeel Art Foundation in Sharjah, the United Arab Emirates, the Brooklyn Museum of Art, New York, the Center Georges Pompidou, Paris, Crystal Bridges Museum of Art in Bentonville, Arkansas, the Guggenheim Museum, Abu Dhabi, the Israeli Museum, Jerusalem, Samsung Museum in Seoul, among others. Among invitations to prestigious group shows and biennials, such as the Whitney Biennial in 2000, and the Venice Biennales in 1999, where she won the UNESCO Prize, 2005, and again in 2007. She was given a mid-career retrospective at the Brooklyn Museum of Art in New York in 2008. Multiple institutions across Marseille, France, are currently organizing a retrospective that I believe opens in December of 2022 that will then hopefully travel to the United States and to Asia. This evening, Ghada will discuss her practice as well as her complicated relationship with painting as an artist who employs a wide range of materials and media, including embroidery, sculpture, ceramics, and gardens, as well as collaborative projects with Riza Farkhonde since 2001. Please join me in welcoming Ghada Amer. Ghada.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming to listen to me and for inviting me. So I am going to present my work since 20 plus more years of work. And the way my presentation is going to be, it's not going to be chronological, but it's going to be by section. Like I'm going to present the paintings first, then my collaboration with Reza, and then the sculpture, I believe, and then the garden, and then the ceramics. It's because I actually don't, I work all of this in the same time, like the painting. Sometimes I work with ceramics, I do a series of sculpture, or I do a garden. So I don't work, like it doesn't mean that I used to do painting and then now I'm doing sculpture or garden. Everything is in the same, more or less the same time. Of course, I don't know what it is. Of course, so I started as a painter. I studied in Nice, France, and as you know, I come from Egypt, and I grew up in a very conservative family. And when I was little, when I was like a teenager, I used to travel a lot between France and Egypt, and I always thought that Egypt was very misogynistic country where women are not welcome, and it made me and then I thought France was like, wow, this very free and for women, and they like women, and we are equal in France and everything. Then I went to art school, and I wanted to study painting. So the art school in France, it's a 5-year program. You just go for an MFA. There's no BA and all of this. You have 2 years of everything. You do everything like undergraduate, and then for 3 years you specialize. So I wanted to do painting. And then the first day of the painting at school, there is the teacher who was like, yes, you, yes, you, yes, yes, you know, you, yes, you know, you, yes. And then we realized that all the no ones, they were women, and all of the yes one, they were men. And he told us no, because women, they cannot paint. So I was extremely surprised and shocked, and I was like, I was like, where I am? Am I in Egypt now, or I am in? Even in Egypt, they wouldn't do this. They would treat the woman differently, but not in this kind. So I went to the library, and then I asked the librarian to tell me. I wanted to have a history of art of women, and this was in 1985. And she told me that we don't have such things. And then I realized that actually I have been brainwashed, because I started looking again at all my art history books, and then it's like, this is men, 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 men. And this is where I realized that the painting is a language of men, and I have decided to embroider. So all of my paintings, so I'm going to show you. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a language of painting using a thread and needle. And I wanted to, for each time that the people look at my painting, they ask the question, why is she using like embroidery? And I wanted to develop, to make it look like a painting. So these are the first pieces I've done, which are women in their home, a little bit, what I call them, they are bored. So I did this from 1991 to 1992-3. Then I wasn't very happy with these, because for me, I wasn't achieving the painting effect. So I decided to change 2 things. So one thing I changed was so what I discovered was the leftover of thread can be used as my drips. And then I decided that I'm not going to use the women that are at home like bored like this, but I'm going to use images from porn magazine that are done for men. And then I'm going to repeat them. And with this repetition, I'm going to obtain like a surface on which all my drips can be I can make a lot of drips, and then it can look like painting. So for the past, so this is from 1992 until now, I am actually developing this technique in my paintings, in some of my paintings, because some of them I use, you will see I use text, but in this particular series of paintings. So I felt that for the first 20 years, I have just tried to, like, until maybe until 2010, I was just developing. I don't know what it is that I'm doing. It makes noise, but that I've been developing the grammar, and then only in the past 10 years, I've been really painting with thread and so this are all the examples of the paintings with thread. So this is, for example, this is a big, very big painting, and it's one of my last painting I'm doing, and this is a service that it's called My Nymphea. It's a reference to the Nympheas. Then I as well have, I use a lot of text in my paintings. I've been using text since 1992, so it's not, when I did the woman work, I've as well done a lot of text. Because when I grew up in a country where I have never seen images. Only when I went to France, I always saw text. So for me, text and image are not like different. I can work with both. For me, they represent the same thing. So all of my texts are they are quotes from a feminist. Men are women. Men are women, and that empowered women, and it doesn't criticize men. This is very important for me. And then lately I've started to do, so up until now, up to 2 or 3 years ago, I only did women that I didn't know, that they were like taken from porn magazine. And then lately I decided to paint portraits of women I know. So I started with myself, and then with a quote, of course, a feminist quote, or from men or women. So then the RFGA. RFGA is it's as well part of my painting, and it stands for Reza Farkhonde Ghada Amer. And this is an acronym that I have created because and then that had led to my collaboration with my friend Reza Farkhonde. And this happened in 2001, where Reza has been very, very depressed. And he was at my studio, and he thought that painting, that because he was painting, that his painting brought him depression. And then one day I was away, and then he started uninvited to paint on all my canvases. And then I came, and then I told him, "Oh, you're painting again. You want my canvas?" He said, "No, I'm trying to help you because your painting background is not so good. You have to improve." So, but if you don't like, I can erase it anyway. You know, it's painting is something that it depresses me. And then I said, so I was like, okay, I thought they were great. And I was actually very surprised about this gesture of him refusing to paint, and then painting on my canvas as if depression will not attack him because it's my canvas. So I was like, that's interesting. So we have been doing this like for 2 or 3 years. And then, so the way we would work, it was like, I wasn't in the studio, he would paint something. So I come, he left the studio, so I would like continue something. Then I leave the studio, he comes back, and then but then after 2, it was very funny for me and very fresh, and it was exciting, and for him too, actually, and it kind of a little bit helped him out of his depression as well. So I told him, you know, Reza, I think we are collaborating. You should sign these with me. And then he said, no, I will never sign this. This is not art. He was like totally, he was very scared that if he signed it, he was gonna get depressed again. So I told him, that this is not fair. This is something that is very new in my work, and it's really was bringing me something very different, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I told him I will sign. So I signed on his behalf. I created this acronym RFGA, where I signed Ghada Amer RFGA, and so we have been doing this RFGA the same until 2005, and then we decided so he decided finally that it's not. He got a lot of like help with the medicine and the therapist, and he understood that the painting, it's not the painting that made him depressed, it's something else. So it was kind of too late to sign all of this RFGA, because it was soul, or it was complicated. So we decided to start a new series of on paper that we will sign together. It was quite difficult actually with the galleries, because the galleries were very happy with the RFGA. Nobody cared, like it was my name. And then with two names, it was like, oh no, it's less valuable. It's all of this kind of crazy mentality for me that it doesn't follow the artist. Like it doesn't. We didn't create like the collaboration because we thought we are two geniuses and we are going to collaborate. It was just happened like this in the studio. So it was quite difficult as everything I started to do, like with my gardens or with my ceramics. Always it's a little difficult with the art market to follow, because they always like to have you in this box. You are I'm a painter, I do embroidery and do this woman. Well, what is this? It's okay. So so this is so the way we work, it's very, with Reza, it is very so everybody thinks that he does the flowers and I do the woman, but it's not actually it doesn't work like this. We actually put all our sketches together, and I like, so sometimes I do all the flowers and he does the woman, sometimes vice versa. Sometimes we do together in the same plate. Like, for example, this is like Reza painting, this is painting, and then sometimes we are together like this. Then sometimes we switch sketches. I take his flower and I paint them. He takes my woman. So this is how this series works. And now the sculpture. So the sculpture, so this is one of my first sculpture, 1993, and it's called Conseil de beauté du mois d'août, beauty tips of the month of August. Because in the month of August, you have a lot of beauty tips for women, how to take care of your body, how to take care of your nails and all of this, hair. And it's every August, if you notice, you have exactly, in France, I don't know here, but in France, you have the same beauty tips. So I decided to embroider them on this thing, on the kerchiefs. And this is another sculpture / performance where I did this dress, wedding dress, and I embroidered the story of the Sleeping Beauty, because it is a very interesting fairy tales where the woman does nothing. She just sleeps for 100 years. For me, it's I'm like, just like a whole tale about a woman who sleeps. So I embroidered it in on this wedding dress, and the wedding dress is on this mannequin that turns around itself, and you can and there is a soundtrack of the beautiful Blue Danube. It's a valse. And then the day of the opening, I did like this dress, this red dress on the this dress. I wore it first in the opening, and then I took it out and I put it on the chair. Then I did this is a straight jacket for Barbie and for Ken, and on top of Barbie, I embroidered Barbie loves Ken, Barbie loves Ken, and like a punishment. And then on top of Ken loves Barbie, Ken loves Barbie, like an encyclopedia of pleasure. So this is a book actually that my sister have found. It's a forbidden book, and it's called Encyclopedia of Pleasure, and it starts like this: in the name of God. It's an Arabic and Islamic book. So it's in the name of God, I'm going to teach you how to be a better Muslim. And in order to be a better Muslim, you have to be a better human being. And in order to be a better human being, you have to be a better sexual being. So I'm going to teach you how to become a better sexual being in order to be like a better Muslim. So, and then, so my sister is a no idea. So, so my sister is she's an academic. Her specialty is medieval French literature, and all of so this is a book in the medieval, but not French Arabic, and so she went across this book, and then it was in this just because like in the Islamic world. They became violent, they became intolerant, and then she was discovering all of this literature that were like free and very empowering, and like speak of sexuality, and it was okay, that is actually forbidden. So she made a lot of research, and she found a translation in Canada of a PhD. So she was able to get it. And so she shared it with me. I was very interested as well in the whole story of why all of these books are forbidden. I had no idea that many books that were talking about freedom are forbidden. So for me, it was very important to work on this. So I embroidered. So I wanted to just give you this is the chapter of the book, just so that you have an idea of what is the range of subject that they were speaking in the middle age in a Muslim society. So yeah. It's a very funny book, actually. It is a very funny book. So I decided to embroider on these boxes only the chapters that would speak about women's sexuality, because I found it's very funny, because it's a man who is writing this, and he is really very specific on how a woman had like pleasure and all of. So for me, it was a little bit ironic, because I was like, okay, this is like interesting that that doesn't come from a woman's voice. It's a man's voice. So I embroidered on the boxes because it's like, this is how culture are saved. For example, in the Middle Ages, the Arabic culture has saved a lot of the medieval culture, because the church were burning all of the books, so they have been saved by the Arabs. And now finding it in Canada and finding it in the West, I think that one culture is always like the savior of another culture. That's why it's these boxes, it's the traveling, the moving from space to space. That's why I decided to embroider them on these boxes. Then in 2010, so I've decided. So it's my sister again who's like calling me and telling me, you know that in Arab we have 100 words to make it to say love. I don't know why we don't use them, because it's in the media. The Arab and the Muslim have become these violent, horrible people that, when I look at the news, I was like very embarrassed to be a Muslim, to be an Arab. So, because it gives, like, it was very much brainwashing, especially here in the US, because after September 11 and all of this, we became the evil of the world. And then you as an individual, you start to believe as well what the media tells you about yourself. So when she told me this, I was like, wow, that's like, I wanted to use this to just convince as well myself that we are okay, we are not that bad people. So I have created this culture out of resin, and this really was a very big moment for me, where I have decided that my first non-embroidered sculpture. And it happened as well. It had a story behind as well, because I was invited in the Arab Museum in Doha, and they didn't want to show my. They told me, we're not going to show your erotic embroidery, because was quite understandable, because they said, we know it, we like it, but we cannot just show this as a first museum of contemporary, because people will be very upset, and then it's going to be like become a big deal, and then the whole art thing is going to be destroyed. So we are going to give you money, and then you're going to produce something that you have never done before. Just experiment. And that was really, really fantastic. So I decided to experiment on something that I don't know, which was something that hard sculpture, not using any embroidery. So when I did this, and then my galleries told me, oh, it's nice, Ghada, but we cannot sell resin. You should do it in bronze. And I was like, what? And I was like, but I don't know how to do bronze. I'm not a sculptor like this. He said, yeah, don't worry, we'll help you. So this was like a gallery that I really enjoy working with her a lot, because she is really, unlike the other ones, Tina Kim Gallery, she is very much with the artist. She helps, like, okay, let's do this. And then she comes and took me to all of the sculpt, like the metal, and to the foundries. And then and then she put all of her money for me to experiment. So it was a very important moment for me, and I really fell in love with sculpture. So this is the same. It's the words I love the most, taken from the 100 Words of Love. But this time I did it in reverse, of course. So, in the 100 Words of Love, it is this one is written on reverse, so that you can have, when you have the shadow, you can read the shadow of the words. The first one, no. Then I started to do as well experimenting with figures on those egg like shaped sculpture forms. So these were. So I'm developing some new sculpture. I haven't actually. I don't want to like for the new sculpture. I'm going to show you like another time, but because I don't have images of my brand new sculpture. And then the gardens. So the gardens. It happened. I started making this garden in 1997, and I made the first. For 10 years, I had a curator called Rosa Martinez, who did the Biennale of Venice in 2005. But she was starting as a young curator in 1997, and she invited me to do these gardens outdoors. Actually, yeah. So I did this. The first one was in Sagunt, in Valencia. It's called Cactus Painting Unfinished. And then I did this painting, so it's a reference to Frank Stella and all of this abstract expressionist painter. This was my first garden, actually my second garden, but the first one that I have image of. And it was unfinished because in the middle of doing the installation, the people who organized the organizer decided not to fund us anymore. So I couldn't finish this. 20 years later, I got invited in France, so I was able to redo my garden. A lot of them I'm redoing right now because I have the funding, I have the knowledge. Because for until 2005, actually, I had no idea what I was doing. I had an idea of a garden, and then I would do it, but it wouldn't really quite work well. So in 2005, I decided to work with an architect who would I have the idea, and then he would draw, he or she draw technicality so that I can build it actually. So as much as I can, when I was invited here, they wanted the cactus painting, so I did the cactus painting properly. And this was in Santa Fe, site Santa Fe, where I have chosen this space, and I decided this is a space for vagabonds and for drunk people and drug addicts. And I decided to make a love park where I put these 10 benches sliced into 2 halves and looking at different direction. And each direction you have a quote about love that is contradictory. So you walk in the park, and you have all of the quotes about love and life contradiction. And this is Women's Quality, 2000, I think, 1 in Busan in Korea. So I was invited to do this. So with Rosa Martinez each time. This is all Rosa Martinez. So I decided that I'm going to ask to make a poll in the street. This was the museum, and then I would ask people to tell me what is the woman's quality they think. So I would ask men and women, and I would choose the 7 because I had or the 8, I don't know how many I had of this slot, that would be the most recurrent. And then I would plant it with this plant that would bloom. It's a local plant in Korea, and then that blooms red, and it stays all the summer red like this. So so I got like this presenting well the food, sexy, submissive, rich. So this was the Woman's Quality 2001 in Korea. And I cheated in this garden because nobody said intelligent, and I was very upset. So I put intelligent, but it's a cheat. Then 20 years later, in LA, I redid the same garden, Women's Quality in English, and I made a poll, and it's very interesting the difference of course, time after post Me Too movement. There was no more sexy, there were no more presenting well the food. It was all very strong woman. So it was very interesting. So of course it's America, and it's 20 years later. So this is, so so it was, you can see beautiful, loving, nurturing, resilient, determined, caring, strong. So this is Women's Quality. And this is another piece I did in Barcelona as well. It says, today, 70% of the poor in the world are women. And I did a sand playground for children in this Rambla. Actually, I was invited to do something in this Rambla, and this Rambla was in a space that was a lot of prostitution, and the police wanted to come there and to clean the area. So they made this place so that they can, and then they remade the road so that the police can enter. And so I chose this quote because it's actually, it's not really, we don't know how many percentage of the poor in the world, male versus female. Because we never counted that, and I think so. It's a quote that I found, and it's a little bit of something to make a debate. So, how many poor? Can we count the poor? Women versus men. So I did this piece in 2000. So this was in 2003 or 2001. I don't know. And this one, I did exactly the same. So then in 2001, too, I didn't have as well the budget. So it was in a very thin wood and it was smaller, but I still did it. And then 20 years later, the same, I did it in strong material, the right size in this space in Mexico. This is Indianapolis, Love Grave. Brian, I have it actually. So this is a piece, I've been to Indianapolis before, and this is a piece I did in the Indianapolis Museum of Art, Love Grave. So, and it's the word love, dug 6 feet deep. And this piece, so it's, for me, this piece is more of, this was 2005. It was just after the war in Iraq, invasion, and all of this, the soldier, the death of the people in soldiers, like and civil, for just a very stupid war, I believe. So for me, it is like more of the unknown soldier. For me, it's a monument for an unknown soldier that I made. I made it 3 times. So this is the first time this is 2005, and this is 2018, and this is 2020 in Anderson Range. So it's of great. And then this is Happily Ever After. So it's a quote that we all know, and I like this quote. And there is a bench in the middle, and for me it was. I made this piece because I wanted to take picture. So we cannot take picture about happily ever after only if we are outside. If we are inside, we take happily and then ever and then after. Let's change this noise. Huh? So it blooms. It's jasmine. So it's a very. It has a lot of smell. It's very important, the smell aspect of the piece. And then there is my ceramics. So ceramics, it's as well. So I started ceramics not for ceramics, actually. I wanted to do, when I did my pieces, my egg-shaped pieces, I wasn't able to do them myself. I drew them, and I was with the fabricator, and I was like, okay, how do you do this? And then I know I don't like this, do like this, do like that. And I was very frustrated that I'm not able to do anything with my hands. So, and then I was trained as a painter, I didn't even studied painting in school, but so I was like, what is this technique? And they told me it's clay, you can, and then I said, oh, I need to learn this. So I went to a school in New York. This was in 2014. And I decided to learn the technique of ceramics, not ceramics, of clay, you know, how to make coils and all of this in order to make my sculpture. Then I fell into ceramics, and then I discovered a whole new world. And this is how I started ceramics, actually. So, so I've done like these plates. So then, so these plates are like, they are not flat on the wall. They are like, they come out of the wall. And then they're big, yeah? It's not, then I started to play with ceramics and to experiment, basically. So whatever I wanted to do, I did, but because I was like a child in the ceramic space, because I could do it myself. I could, many things broke, but many things didn't break. So I was, so everything, so it's in 3. So there's the plates, there's a sculpture, and there is abstract, you will see abstract sculpture that I did in the same time. This is not like a chronological as well. So these are my boxes. So these are like box shape, and there is drawing in the like it's drawings in the space, drawing in the front, and this is the back of the same box. So these are my sculpture. And then I as well like did a lot of experimentation with abstract forms, like the knots. And then these are the thoughts. I call them the thoughts, because, and these sculptures are done with my left hand. Because in sculpture you discover that you have 2 hands. In painting, no, you only have 1. This is when I discovered my left hand. So it's like in the beginning, I was taking them as like a model for big sculpture, but then no, they are a sculpture by themselves, and I like very much the use. I've always loved the use of color in sculpture, which is very difficult to achieve because in big and outside it's practically impossible to do painted sculpture. That's it. So if you have any question for me.
I was just curious about dimensions or size and working with size. It seems like it's gone. Or I don't know if
the
I'm
ceramic, you
assuming
mean?
that the ceramic pieces or the clay pieces are smaller.
No, the plate are like this. They're
Are
big.
they? Okay.
They're very big.
Okay.
Some of the thoughts are very tiny, like
Are
this. This is not so big like this.
Okay. Has it changed, like discovering your left hand? And
No, I would like to do them big, but I tried. I'm trying. Those big things, those thoughts, I'm very interested in them. I'm trying like to develop this.
yeah.
So far, that's it.
Well, congratulations on finding your left hand. That's a wonderful discovery to share.
When you're painting with embroidery, it's more of a technical question, but how do you keep your threads from getting all tangled up and ruining sort of the vision of your piece?
Well, I use my thread as painting. It doesn't matter. It ruins the vision or doesn't ruin the vision. What I do is a system. Like I have a system. It's woman, and I'm gonna repeat. I'm going to sew, and then I'm gonna make a painting. Then we see or we don't see. For me, it's not very important.
What do you say to people that make comments like, art's not a real degree?
What is the question? What do I make?
You know how when people say, oh, when you tell them like, oh, I'm majoring in arts or whatever, they're like, oh, that's not a real degree. That's a hobby.
Well, I can tell you a story. Well, my parents never wanted me to to study art. I was very good in math and science, and I'm supposed to do a science school. And the only thing I liked was to paint. I was never allowed to paint at home, and it was like, okay, this is if you do your homework, you are allowed to paint. If you do like this was my carrot. And then I went to science school. I was very depressed. I went to language school. I was very depressed, and then I decided to go to art school against the will of my parents. And I did it, and I didn't care about like if it's a degree, not a degree, whatever. I didn't go even to art school to have a career or to make money or I went to art school because this is the only place that I could be happy. So it's your choice.
I actually have two questions. On these ceramic pieces, is it paint or glaze that's coloring these surfaces?
It's glaze. It's not. It's neither paint nor glaze. So when I started ceramics, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do colors. And then my teacher told me, okay, this is the glaze. I was like, oh, where's the color? And it's like, what is a glaze? It's you put it in the oven and then it makes color. So like, no, it's not color for me. I cannot work like this. And I'm a painter. I need to see them. So he came up with this very judicious technique where the body of the sculpture is sculpture clay, and then he made for me porcelain with pigment. And then, so we, with pigment, and then I had all of the colors, more or less, because it becomes a little bit more saturated when you put it in the kiln, and especially when you glaze a transparent glaze. The only color, everything was fine except some of the greens were not present. So some colors I had to just like they were purple, but they were supposed to be like blue, like so. It was fine. It was better than just all of these glazes like this that I couldn't see any colors. So I so it is a kind, so it's porcelain mixed with pigment. So I paint this, I can see more or less, and then the rest is, and then I put a transparent glaze. So
Great. So neither and both. That's
yeah,
great.
exactly.
My other question, if you can answer it, in some of the earlier images, we saw some recognizable figures like Snow White and some characters, and I've heard that Disney is very protective of their imagery. And you may not have had any bad experiences with this, but have you ever been contacted by them? I've heard of other artists that have had to have conversations with Disney about using their characters.
No, I haven't. I haven't been. Thank God, contacted you.
I have a good story for you later. Thank you.
I mean, I think you have to do 3 in order to use the Disney character. You have to do 3 changes, right, for the copyright issue. So, yeah.
Hi, Ghada, I had a question. Talk a little bit about what it means for you to have a practice that's kind of across the planet, so to speak. So you just came back from Cairo on Friday, and there's some personal reasons you don't have to go into, of course, but what it's like to work in Cairo, how that addresses some of your interests, and I know you're working on an artist proof of a piece. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And then when you come back to New York and you continue on doing other things, and talk a little bit about that experience of place, geography, and how that influences your practice.
Well, when I go to Cairo, usually in order to make sense of like this, I always think I don't travel into space, but I travel into time. So so it's a very different culture, very different climate, very different everything, language, everything. So, but this is where home is. My mom is there, my family are there, so I have to go, and I like it, and sometimes I miss it very much because I grew up there. So, I as well, because of my interest in crafts, there's a lot of crafts there, and I'm very much like I get inspiration. Why I did as well the erotic series, because it is for a personal reason. It's in my culture, it's forbidden, it's very taboo, so I wanted to do it for myself. So I get usually inspiration when I'm very angry. So so this is like the relationship between, so a lot of time I go to Cairo to get inspired, to get upset and inspired. So so but all my, for example, all my sculpture, that Encyclopedia of Pleasure, Salon Courbet, I haven't shown this, and I haven't and Majnoon, and all of these very heavily embroidered sculpture have been done in Egypt because of the cost as well, and yeah, because of the cost of the labor. So I do it there since the revolution, and I even had like bought a place for me as a studio in Cairo. This was just before the Arab Spring, in downtown Cairo, next to Tahrir Square, because it's one of the most exciting places for me in Cairo. And then, of course, the uprising happened, and it was impossible to go downtown. It was very difficult. 10 years, so I never used it. I only start now to use it after, like, because now it has calmed down. So I needed actually to do this piece that is an old piece that I've done in Egypt. It's called Salon Courbet. So I went there and I because I couldn't get it from the museum and from other lenders. So my AP was still to be produced. So that's why I went there to produce it. And for the first time I used my studio. I was very happy. So then New York, what do you mean? Well, then you go to another galaxy. This is what I call it, like another galaxy. And then you are lost for a week. And then you just catch up with all of the. New York is for me is a great. For me, it's a great space because it's full of people like me that that come from other galaxies basically. And then it's really unlike even Egypt or France, where it's okay to be from somewhere else. And this is, I like very much. So it's not, I can go there and try to figure out what I saw in Cairo and what is happening and how I can do this. So, because in Egypt, it's so much emotional that I have to be a little bit distance myself so that I can process.
How do you go about like choosing the porn that you use? Because it seems like it's pretty consistent, like how the women look across the decades. Like I don't know, I guess it seems like a very specific type to me, I guess.
Yes, it's all my women from the porn magazine are the same woman. It's only one woman basically, and she looks exactly the same. It's very simplified. She looks, it's a white woman. She's not like African American or Asian, or she doesn't have a race. And I wanted this because coming from the Middle East, like for example, this is the difference between me and Shireen, for example, where Shireen Neshat has a very specific cultural woman that and then when you look at this woman, for me, oh, this is from Iran, they are oppressed over there. So it's like you detach. For me, I feel like, oh, it's the other. Well, I didn't want to, when I did my painting, it's not the other, it's you, me, and everybody. So the only way I could address this is by painting a white woman, a woman that is not the other. So it is like it's the culture that is more dominant. So I wanted to be in this cliche actually. So that's why my women look like this. And what is very important for me is it's not the woman, it's the woman, but what is very important for me, it is as well the history of art. It's like I'm making painting out of this. This is just like a text. It's like I don't know what the English word is.
Can you click on the chat up there? And there was a question, Q&A. I don't know if you could do that with your mouse. Somebody from
Sorry, I'm very stupid. Where do I click?
Is there a mouse here?
Yes, I click like this, like my phone.
No.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
it's
there you go. I didn't know it was touchscreen.
It's Pietro. Yes, Pietro. Pietro.
Or did I forgot to ask Jason again? But
Answer live. Yes, Pietro, you can see it. Then I don't know if it worked. Oh, he's answering. I know it's another one. Thank you for this. Post-feminist. Okay. Oh, that's okay. Well, I don't know when post-feminism started, to tell you the truth, because since I am since the 80s, since the 80s, it's post-feminism already, because the feminism was only in the 60s, I guess. I don't know how to answer this. No, I don't think it's complicated to be seen as a feminist. I am a feminist. I don't care about if it's complicated or not. I don't care. I don't know if she heard me, though.
So a lot of your floral sculptures were growing, but the love was cut out of the ground. Why was that one different?
Why what?
Why was in your earth sculptures, why was love cut out of the ground, but most of the quotes were growing? Was that significant or just project specific?
No, I don't understand. Can you? I don't understand. Yeah, because it's like, why out of the ground?
The love that you cut out of the ground was
The
different.
love grave, you mean? The love grave. It's a grave.
Grave. Oh, thank you.
It's a grave, so it has to be.
This question kind of goes off what they were saying too. So your other pieces like Happy Ever After and the Traits of a Woman, where you have them like above ground, did you use like a form? Like I know jasmine can be an ivy and it's a vine. Did you have them trail up on the Happy Ever After, or did you cut them out like shrubs? And did you do that yourself, or did you have someone fabricate it for you?
Oh, I wouldn't do it myself. I'm not. First, I always use local plants. Very important for me. I don't want to, like, wherever I am, I say, okay, I want a plant that has a nice scent. So it was in Italy and it was in Tuscany. So the jasmine was was one of the easiest things to grow that I like the jasmine. So I chose jasmine. And of course there is I told you that after 2005, I decided that I'm going to have the help of an architect, because it's very complicated actually to make them. So there is trellis, and then not only architect but people who can grow this and who can maintain it, because it requires quite of commitment.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I had a few questions. So do you think working with a larger scale at the beginning, like before you were well known and you were working with like feminist art, do you think working with a larger scale makes your voice louder and makes your pieces more heard by the male dominated like fine art world?
No, I think that I like to work with large scale. I worked it very early in my career, like very large, 4 meter by 3. No, I think that for me, the large scale, it makes it, specifically in my painting, like it takes it out of the woman's work. For me, it was very important that these are painting. And the smaller they are, the more they become like women's work, but the bigger they become, it as well adds on the painting, but it doesn't have to do with the male dominated. It's more of a painting statement.
Going off of that, actually, what my second question was, how do you combat critics that say that embroidery is more of a craft or woman's work rather than like a fine art medium?
Yeah, it's a craft. Embroidery is a craft.
Would you like consider it like a fine art medium, or would you?
Well, the thing is like, it's very interesting what is fine art and what is craft. Painting is a craft too, basically, but it's because I don't know why it has become I don't know what is happening. It's not happy about me or something. I think it's, for example, ceramics has for a longest time have been considered, maybe until now a little bit, as a craft. only in the past 10 years, it has become like, oh, now we're discovering ceramics and it's not a craft, it's art and all of this. So it goes in and out of fashion. For me, I kind of, I don't know what's craft and what's art, because a painter is a craftsman. You have to have craft in order to you don't paint with your mind. You paint with your hands, you paint with your eyes, you have to know how to paint or to draw. It's a craft. So always the name, the name craft, it is always, you say it when you want to, I don't care if it's a craft or not a craft, I use it. I don't, it's, yeah. Oh, you're welcome.